Ruto, people think he's intelligent. It is Chebukati who made him president. He had no clue. He used Chebukati's playbook to become president. Now Chebukati is dead. I don't think he's very happy because at least no one can even coach the next chairperson to do what Chebukati did for him. Because Chebukati used all the loopholes, the gray areas in the constitution to leave Ruto as a president. If you become a commissioner, you cannot have paid, let's say, 2 million or 3 million shillings to become a commissioner. Then anybody becomes an MP or senator without paying you. So it starts by selecting the selection panel, which is done through corruption. So when they come in through corruption, they must also bring other people through corruption. Then every elected leader must be corrupt. And that's why all the elected people running for election knows that you must put money in IBC. Even if you want to run for president, you must put money in IBC. That's why Chebukati will tell you, I have 3 results. 1, Raila has won. 2, Ruto has won. 3, rerun. If we want Raila has won, bring me 400 million. If Raila want to say it is Ruto has won, give me nothing. If you want rerun, give me 200 million. So then you have won, but you have to buy your winning. So that's where everything goes wrong. Linda Jamii, which is the civil society I used to be a leader, presented a memorandum on the issue of the Nadco report, and we said it was completely illegally constituted. So there was no need of even focusing more on its outcome. And if you look at it, the outcome has brought a serious problem at now, which is even a conundrum, because the outcome talks about 2 principles that must agree on the appointment of the IEBC commissioners. And those 2 principles were, even by name, Raila versus Ruto, because it was stated that the parliament, this thing will be tabled in parliament, and also will be tabled before Raila Odinga, and they have to agree on it. And the appointment of the chairperson and even the commissioners was supposed to be agreed by the 2 principles. Now, you saw Kalonzo saying that if Raila Odinga joins Ruto, then he becomes the 2nd principle, because then 1 principle will be Ruto plus Raila, then he becomes the 2nd principle. So now, as someone said earlier, which was correct, that the 2 people decides for us. There are few people decide on the fate. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this Nadco report has not improved the problem, because it has left a very serious problem, which I'm going to tackle on the issue of the election of the chairman person. So that's my end of saying that the Nadco report has created a situation whereby our fate depends on 2 principles, yet that is taking away the sovereign power of the people, which we believe so strongly on. So Nadco report is not helping to improve electoral laws. It was about to look for how to keep the KANU orphans, if you like, or KANU grandchildren, like someone has called them earlier. The second thing I want to talk about is the independence of IBC. Some of you have heard me talking about in the media by saying, anything that begins with the word independent in Africa is not independent. And anything that begins democratic is not democratic. So let's talk about Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's called Democratic Republic of Congo. How democratic it is now given the M23 situation there. So IBC also suffers the same problem on independence. And I want to say we are fortunate because after I was in Bomas of Kenya during the election, from the day they were setting up everything, I was in Bomas. I took a lot of notes talking to the commissioners, just like a professor doing research. They didn't know that I was having interest in politics later. It made me to write a book, which is entitled Strategic Thinking, The Dynamics of Political Strategies in Africa. Our chapter I dedicated to the independence of electoral commissions, not just in Kenya, but in the whole of Africa. And I would recommend you guys who are talking about no election, no reforms, to get a copy of this book. I should be able to donate one for free. I come out with 11 criteria to prove whether an independent electoral commission in Africa is independent or not. So I'll mention one. I'll mention some of them. Like one criteria is legal standing of the Electoral Commission. So I give a scale of 1 to 5, just checking how legally standing it is. So the legal standing of Electoral Commission in Kenya is not there because somebody can wake up like the president came and say and dissolved it. The second thing is transparency and inclusivity of appointments procedures for commissioners and secretariat. So you know very well there's no transparency and there's no inclusivity. So that criteria is not there. So that's the second one, to show whether an electoral commission is actually independent. The third one is security of tenure. Security of tenure means that once appointed, no one can remove you from office. You know, in Kenya, we have done that before with the Secherera 4 and the rest. So it means the third criteria that we don't have. The third one is physical security. Physical security is whereby if you are a chair of IBC, you should be able to appear and announce the results without worrying about your security. In Kenya, you will be worried. So that fourth is not there. The fifth one is right to hire and second own staff. They don't have the right because these are done by the Public Service Commission, and Public Service Commission is under instruction by William Ruto through Felix. So again, they don't even have a right to say who is their staff. Can you imagine if you are a chair of the board and you cannot appoint your CEO and your staff? The sixth one is decision-making autonomy. They don't have it. Let me not go further. Even the president can decide to procure the IBC materials from where he wants to, like Kibaki did. Number 7, right to amend propose legislation and regulations. They don't have the right, because even now he is not politician sitting in Bomas to decide. The 8th one is right to announce the election results and declare the polls valid, free and fair, and it is acceptable. There is no single day IBC was the last one to speak on the election results. In 2013, it was the court who declared eventually. And that was a lot of politics there. Again, 2017, you come to 2017, 2022, it always assumes, because it means that IBC don't have that final word. Number 9, appeals process. Appeals process, whenever IBC has any challenges, they have lost in court, they have lost to the state. The number 10th one is budgetary independence. The budget for IBC determined by parliament and determined by the president, whatever you want to spend, and treasury. And lastly, right to obtain external funding. They are not allowed. If there's any external funding to be given to IBC, they must pass to the state. So I've finished the second point by saying that IBC, using the 11 criteria, sorry to say, all of them we have scored either neutral or 0. I move to the third issue I want to do submission on is on voter registration is not voter register is not cleaned, is not audited. There are dead voters there. There are so many issues. So even Fabish has to focus on no election, no reforms, no election. The cleaning or that register so that it can be transparent. Even you don't know where it is. Like now, if you want to know that register, even there's a law in IBC, you have to buy it. And you buy it per page. Why should they sell to us that thing so that if you want to know how IBC register looks like, you have to buy? If I'm lying, go to IBC or write a letter. I've done that before, requesting for the voter registration. They send me the fee per page. So I discovered if I want the full IBC register, I have to spend at least $500,000 to get the register. Yet they collect our data, then they sell to us. And who is getting that money and where is it going? That's the problem. The third one is the chairmanship thing, which was the main contention in the Supreme Court. This should not be there. That the chairman is the one that tallies and declares. That has not been cured, and any reforms must look for how to ensure that the chairperson cannot just be able to come up and rule. I wrote an article today, which I shared with Fabish, that the problem we are having in Kenya is that Ruto, people think he's intelligent. It is Chebukati who made him president. He had no clue. He used Chebukati's playbook to become president. Now Chebukati is dead. I don't think he is very happy because at least no one can even coach the next chairperson to do what Chebukati did for him. Because Chebukati used all the loopholes, the gray areas in the constitution to leave Ruto as a president. And the people thought Ruto was clever. He is not clever because cleverness should have seen in the SHA, SHIF, finance bill, house levy, affordable housing, everything else that Ruto has gone wrong. There is no Chebukati to help him there. So because of time, I go to the fifth issue I want to submit. Where election takes place, if you look at the Maina Kiai case, it is very clear that elections should take place and should be final at the polling station. But Kenyans have not taken advantage of that because we still allow people to sit in bomas and we are waiting for Chebukati to speak. In Kenya, we call it the fat lady has not spoken. That fat lady should not exist. In fact, if you go to the American election, there's nothing like if election being done by the federal government. Elections are completed at the state. For example, the state of California will do theirs, New York will do theirs, and they will be outlaid clearly, transparently, so that we know the president. No one declares. There's no declaration from anybody. So long as there will be a human being declaring, those people will take money from others. And let me tell you what happens. That's why, even as for now, I like what Fabish was saying. If you want to go for election because you you have appetite for becoming, I don't know, a senator or MP without reforms, we wish you well, because it's really difficult to do. Even Fino Lwande has talked about the issue of how do you become president or even MCA or MP or anything else, women rep in Kenya under these circumstances. The whole scam starts this way. The select panel, people like Misitati, I can tell you this guy called Misitati, who is one of the commissioners in the select panel. He is my friend. I know him. I know how much he used to bribe all parties by taking them to Naivasha, booking them in expensive hotels and giving them allowances and transport so that they can elect him. So let's say he spent 20 million. What is his business model? It means that anybody who applies to become a commissioner, if you don't give them money, there's no way you can become a commissioner if I spend my money to become in the select panel. And now, if you become a commissioner, you cannot have paid, let's say, 2 million or 3 million shillings to become a commissioner. Then anybody becomes an MP or senator without paying you. So it starts by selecting the selection panel, which is done through corruption. So when they come in through corruption, they must also bring other people through corruption. Then every elected leader must be corrupt. And that's why all the elected people running for election knows that you must put money in IBC. Even if you want to run for president, you must put money in IBC. That's why Chebukati will tell you, I have 3 results. 1, Raila has won. 2, Ruto has won. 3, rerun. If we want Raila has won, bring me 400 million. If Raila want to say it is Ruto has won, give me nothing. If you want to rerun, give me 200 million. So then you know you have won, but you have to buy your winning. So that's where everything goes wrong. And I want to say that should elections be done and ended at the polling station, where every polling station has the right to outlay the results in the public, is picked at the constituency level, outlaid, then outlaid at the county level, it will be more transparent than someone standing in IBC to tell you who has won the election, who has not lost. And I want to end with the electoral law, which this is clearly in the constitution of Kenya, how elections should be done. The problem we have is that in our constitution, electoral law says that the president is elected this and that way. Then they add by saying parliament will pass legislation on how it should be done. That's where the scam begins. Because the constitution is very clear how we should do the election. Then they tell you parliament will pass. Now, these parliamentarians, they want to be elected, and they're the one passing how they should be re-elected or not. Do you think they're going to consider young people who are ambitious, they want to win? They'll come out with barriers. They will never ensure that elections are done without bribery. Like, it's very clear how much people should spend the election. The proposals are there, but they always suspend the implementation of those things. So the tallying, if you look at how they say the election should be done by counting and by electronic transmission. Now, you have to know, ladies and gentlemen, the current constitutions, how they write, in English, if you write something, then you put a comma, then you say something else. What you write, then you put a comma is more important on what comes after the comma. For example, let me read by saying, election in Kenya should be declared by electronic transmission, comma, counting. You mean electronic transmission is having power over tallying. And whenever tallying, actual counting disagrees with the transmission carries the day. So if you look at the current election, lawyers who are here, just look at that drafting, how election declared by tallying, by counting, and by electronic transmission. It gives power to electronic transmission. So should we get our election rigged in 2027 through electronic transmission, you'll be told that where there's disagreement between electronic transmission and counting, then transmission carries the day. So those are some of the reforms we need to bring across. Let me end there because I'm sure that I don't want to bore you. So I can only answer any questions if you have, but also feel free also to contribute to what I've said. It is not my conversation, it is the people's conversation. Thank you very much. And once more, thank you for calling upon me as your guest speaker, for there is an honor. And God bless you all.